Everybody, if you have ever been upset, excuse me, you're yelling, if you've ever felt totally guilty, this is for you. So I had a mom recently that I had a session with, and she was feeling horrible about how much she yelled. But the interesting thing is that within a month, she was able to reduce it by 50%. So what did she do? And I was so touched and inspired, Angela, by your vulnerability and then by your turnaround. And I know it's not 100% perfect now, but I know you've seen, even maybe we can talk about what happened this morning of taking her to school and you're late. It's not your best day, but there's shifts for you. And I just wanted to kind of capture some of what you've been doing, some of your wins, because I think there's a lot of other moms that feel tremendous guilt. I'm like, I'm the only one who's this horrible mom, and oh my gosh, like I'm ruining my child. What am I doing? That hopefully will be able to relate to you.
Mom, so I have to work a lot. I have two teenage girls that are 16 and 17, and then Briley, who's 5. So, juggling having babysitters, and I feel guilty every day that I don't, especially my youngest, that I don't get to spend as much time with her. And she is I'm sure her love language is quality time. So that's huge. She needs me. So, she's one of those kids that is so good with everybody else but mom, and it's because she just wants my attention and I can't, you know, so it's, over the last couple months, it's trying to find that way that I can give her that time in a world that ideally I can't. I have to work, and yes, do I beat myself up? For sure.
The reality is you got to bring money in.
Yeah, like,
The reality. And yet I've also heard you mention when we were talking just before that you said that one of the things on the last call you talked about, oh, you don't always have to put her to bed because sometimes you're working at night, so you're not the one
yes.
to put her to bed. But you started to look at how can you then put some of the quality time in the morning? How have you done that? What has changed for you in terms of that shift?
Yeah. So, I mean, first I started with creating a morning for myself because I needed that couple hours to myself. So I started creating a morning where I got up at 5. And then it dawned on me, like at our last call, like, because I'm always like, how do I fit in time during the day? Like, I'm working all day. She's got school. She's going, I can 9 times out of 10, I don't put her to bed. It's either her sisters or the babysitters because I work till 9 at night or 10 and then it dawned on me like, well, you get up at 5, you have that time. So take half an hour out of my time and give her the time in the morning. So now, we have cuddles in the morning. We have, just that or whatever, even if, me being there and making her a better breakfast or, just having that time in the morning and we're not rushed.
How have you done it where you don't feel rushed? Is it because more times you're getting some time for you first, so you're not
Oh,
feeling as rushed? Is that the shift for you? Because I know a lot of people are like, the alarm goes off and they're like, they already feel late and, at the
yes.
very start.
That's the huge thing. Like, I know. So I was never a morning person. I could stay up all night. Now I love my mornings. I have that time to me. I have coffee. I meditate. I do gratitude. I journal. Sometimes I don't do anything. I just play on my phone, but it just, to be honest, but ideally, 75% of the time I have that good morning time with me. And then I'm a better mom. I'm not rushing and then, my typical thing that I like to do, I'm yelling, get up, we have to get going and it's not their fault. It's my fault for, you know, but then again is not feeling guilty because it is life too, you know.
And there's so many things I appreciate about you, and one of them is your ability to take 100% responsibility. What you just said, like it's not her fault, it's my fault from the get-go. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you about is the yelling part of it is I know when we spoke in I think it was September, we were talking about your yelling, and I think a lot of times people assume like this is a bad behavior, I have to get rid of it. I asked you at that time, like, what's the benefit to it? And you came up with two. Do you remember what you said?
It feels good.
You said it was like a release. It feels good.
Yeah,
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 you
feels
did.
good.
You did.
Yeah.
And
And it gets their attention.
yeah.
Like I've played it. I remember when my older ones were little and they were acting up in the car. And I remember consciously thinking, okay, I'm gonna like yell super loud and then they're gonna stop because they're gonna be shocked. Whoa, what happened? Right?
Which is interesting because in that scenario, it reminds me like it's a really good way to get into the driver's seat, whether you're serious, like in that case, you were in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
But I think that it feels like this powerful, like, okay,
Yes.
everybody, you're listening to me now. We got it.
Yeah.
And so knowing that there were the positives to it, right? How did you shift it? Like what percentage would you say now comparatively were you yelling before to now? Because I know we're all human. So
Yeah.
you're not going to be perfect at it, but what would you say the difference is?
Oh, I would probably say at least 50% or more. Like the thing is yeah, it might work the first time or the second time, but after a while, the kids become numb to it. It doesn't work anymore. And it's just now it's just something for me. It is like they're like, oh, mom's just yelling again. That's just the way she is, you know? Um, so having that awareness and knowing the feelings that come up when I yell, eh, now it's like it's almost like my body remind, okay, you're gonna start to yell now. So then I'm like, okay, do I need to yell? Is this, and yes, don't get me wrong, sometimes I still want to yell.
People come to me all the time with like, we want to change this, we want to change that. I'm like, but do you? Like, do you really? Right? Because
Yeah.
I think it's what we should do. It's what we should say as a good mother, especially if we have the belief that, okay, a good mother doesn't yell, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing from you, and I think this is really cool, is that you're really being so mindful about your yelling that you save your yelling for maybe when it's important or when,
Yeah.
but at least they're going to hear it now. Because if you're yelling all the time anyway, they just tune you out, as you say.
I've always said that, in raising Briley, being that she's 5 and the other ones are 16 and 17, the three of us they helped me raise her.
Mhm.
So I've also allowed them space to be open with me and call me out basically on my shit and say, hey, mom, like, you're not being, you're yelling too much. And,
You couldn't have done that without that acceptance for you. And I feel like, that's why when I talk about this peaceful parenting path, and the first step is like parenting yourself. And that is like
yes,
loving yourself up, because
yes,
it's that area if we're judging ourselves and being like, oh my gosh, I did it again. And then we just in turn do that to our child as well, because often we're so angry at ourselves, or trying to hide that. It doesn't allow for an authentic, meaningful life, because we're pretending to be something we're really not. And I'm just really touched when you talk about your daughters, their ability to share with you. And it's not, I don't, and I want to hear from you on this. It doesn't sound to me when you share it that it's like a putting mom down. It's just a very matter of fact of mom yells sometimes, it's too much. But that's great feedback. So it's like it's positive, constructive criticism that you're
yes,
breeding in your family, in your girls,
yeah,
where it's not like we all have to be perfect.
right. I put the work in before. I parented myself before. I learned to love myself and be happy with who I am. And when I got to that point, it allowed me now to be open and allow my kids to call me out on my stuff. I'm able to call myself out on my stuff without it shutting me down, because it's like I know I'm happy with me. I know I'm a good mom. Not perfect, but I did the work before, and I learned to love myself and parent myself, like you say, you know what I mean? And it started with that.
I'd
And then,
love to hear from you before we go on your turnaround story this morning,
yeah,
because you had a rushed morning, but you didn't yell and you were like,
yeah,
hallelujah. How did
yeah.
that
So yeah,
happen?
like this morning was a huge shift that it was like a aha moment that the work that I've been doing finally paid off in a sense. So first of all, this morning I slept in. I didn't get up at my regular 5. I didn't have my morning routine. Briley came in, basically, I woke up when she came in. She crawled into bed and I was just present with her. We snuggled, you know, I was holding her. She's like, Mom, put your hand on my ear again, right? Like we had that moment. It was only 10 minutes, but I could feel that she was just really enjoyed it. So we got up. She ended up having some FaceTime with her dad and grandma. She had her breakfast. I'm looking at the clock. Oh, we're going to be late for school. But it's like I had the time I wanted to walk and have that time with her. So, yeah, we ended up getting ready and we walked to school. We ran a little bit. We were late, but it was fun running. Like we're like, let's run. And, and I was just so when I dropped her off, I was really proud of myself. And I even messaged my partner and I said, like, I seen a huge shift this morning. Like there was no anxiety, there was no yelling, you know, I didn't feel guilty that we were late. And we weren't even really that late in the end. It was a great morning. It was like, and I did all that with not having my me time in the morning. You know.
Because you had enough in the bank stored up,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
guess, right? Then
Yeah.
you budget. Like, at times it's like life is real, things happen.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and she was a different kid too. She was that little girl that she is with everybody else. She was so good and she's just calm. But that's the thing. If I'm calm, she'll be calmer. Kids are such energy things. They are like,
Are a mirror for it, aren't
right? They
they?
are
So
mirrors.
much so. They are. I got a huge aha just based on what you said, which is it's interesting. This is so perfect, Angela. So I'm so glad you're doing this with me. It's such a gift.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just hope that, if other moms are listening to this right now, they can relate to some of that or the times where they are being so hard on themselves. And can we have a bit more grace, a little bit more allowance for our imperfections? Because you talked about how much time, and I know you've put in the time to parent yourself and really develop this love story for you as well.
Yeah.
And
Yes. Yeah.
then the second step on my path is the living our values everyday boundaries. I call it love boundaries, but the living our values every day. And what I heard today that you said, that allowance of it's like you put your purpose before the results. It's like this morning, it's like you're going to be present with her. Like this is what you value. And you're not just saying it, you are doing it. And children
Right.
watch what we do more than they listen to what we say. And yeah, you
Yeah.
were a little bit late, but the fact of the matter is you would have been late anyway,
Yes.
right?
Exactly.
But the
Yes.
result of being there, like, oh, 3 minutes earlier, where, then you feel guilty for the rest. Because I know there's a lot of moms where they'll feel guilty for the rest of the day and they can't just wait for their kids to come home and then apologize.
Yeah.
But then the rest of the day at work or they're feeling crappy.
Yes, exactly. No, it was a great morning and yeah, it was nice. And then yeah, like I can now enjoy the rest of my day and even tonight because I'm not going to be able to put her to bed. Like I still feel good that she got some time in.
Yay. You're
Yeah,
awesome. I just feel like you're one of those incredible role models that just I get teary-eyed thinking about it because I think about the 3 girls you're raising that gets to see this authentic mom doing her best, but then also working out her stuff and healing and doing better, not just trying better, but actually doing better and then accepting herself when she messes up, including yelling.
yes. And that's the thing. And that's my purpose and my gift is to show my girls to be real
Mm.
that it's not perfect, it's not easy, it's hard. Like, I think if we put on this mask and try and pretend, like, what are we doing for our kids? We need to show them what can happen, what's being real, and allowing them to have a voice. Like, those are my biggest, purposes with my girls and what I love for everybody.
Thank you so much, Angela. Like, just this has been such a gift, and I can't help but believe there's going to be some moms listening to this, and they're going to be
I
like,
hope so.
so thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.